Hi everybody, very welcome to yet another live stream here on the Mentour Pilot channel. As always, I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, my wife is just about to close the door here behind me because I guess she doesn't want to hear me talking about aviation. But I know that you guys do. I hope you've had time to get yourself a cup of hot chocolate or a Coca-Cola or coffee, which I'm taking myself. And yeah, I'm here for you guys. This is one of my, what I try to do at least, bi-monthly live streams. And if you have never been on a live stream with me before, this is how it works. I will be here trying to answer your questions. And there's going to be loads of people asking questions in the normal chat. I can see already that there are quite a few of you. I will take as many questions as I can from the normal chat, but I will prioritize any question that comes in through the super chat, because that is people who are donating some money to the channel and that's supporting the work that I do, and it's also being highlighted, so it's easy for me to read them. So I will be taking those questions first of all, then from the normal chat. All right. And also today I was thinking of doing something slightly different. So generally it's just me speaking, but I realized that we're now coming in towards the end of September, coming in towards October, which is of course when the CARES Act stops working in the United States. And that means that a lot of people in the United States, a lot of pilots, a lot of cabin crew are now facing potential redundancies because of that. And it's the same in Europe. So I was thinking, I'm going to call around to some friends, all right? And I'm going to bring them onto the live stream so that we can discuss these kind of things with them as well. And you'll get a chance to ask some questions. First of all, I can see that there's some activity in the super chat already. That's great. I'm going to start with that now in just a second. Let's see. Will Engel, great to have you here. Will is one of my supporters on Patreon as well. He's very active in the Patreon Discord server that we have, which is one of the perks for my Patreon. And his daughter Maske has just turned 12, so I want to give a huge shout out to her. I hope, Maske, if you're watching this, that you've had a wonderful birthday, and yeah, many happy birthdays to come to you and your entire family. I'm so happy to have you and your father with as patrons. Hey, Lucas.
Hi.
Lucas wanted to come in and say hello as well.
Hi.
You have the Flying Baguette t-shirt on, have you?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Say hello to everyone.
Hi.
Good. Yeah, so I'm going to go through the first couple of super chats, and then I will call our first guest in to see what he thinks about how things are going. So Will Engen just wanted to say hello again and be in good one out of the pocket for a few weeks. Called Junior already. It's been nice to see you got home Friday night. Yeah. Thank you. It's great to have you here as well, Will. And Ima785 is saying, no matter what happens, ABBA is still the best. Yeah, as a Swede, I can only agree to that, obviously. ABBA is, and has always been, the best. And then loads of people are sending me some snacks here. Grant Rennie, thank you very much for that. And Ima785, do you know a Swedish band called Yaki Da, like Ace of Base? I know. No, Ace of Base I don't, but not Yaki Da. And let's see. I'm just going to have to move this up a little bit so I can see all the super chats. Very cool. Okay, cool. So since there's no more questions directly here on the super chat, I will continue on and bring my first guest in. So let's just hope that Johan from the Blanco Lirio channel wants to come in and talk a little bit with us. So I'm going to give him a call now and then see if we can get him on. That's fantastic, isn't it? I really hope he answers now. There we go. Let's see. It is. I'm just going to switch over here to make sure that it works on here as well.
Okay.
There we go. John, great to see you here again.
Hey, good to see you guys too.
Lucas wants to be in.
No, I
Now.
just wanted to say good night to everyone who is in Spain.
Yeah, well, you can say good night to everyone if you want.
Yeah, good night to everyone because I'm going to sleep.
Good night.
By the way, check out the best merch ever.
There we go. I get rid of the double.
You got a little bit of interference, did you?
There we go. I think I got it cleared up now.
Cool. So, Johan, first of all, very welcome to the Mentour Pilot channel again. You're a recurring guest here. How are you doing?
Thanks. Good. We're dodging the wildfires here in Northern California and keeping the locals appraised of how the local air attack is going on these wildfires in Northern California. So far, they've been staying away directly from our house. They've not been impacting our house, but the smoke here is terrible. We're down to a mile visibility or less in terrible smoky conditions.
And you have your escape plan ready, so you know in case the wind direction changes, that you know where to go.
Yeah. We're constantly monitoring the situation. We got the mobile command post in the backyard all packed up, loaded, ready to go. Pete's briefed on how to start the thing. He can't reach the pedals yet. And we've bugged out, practiced bug out, head up to the airport and go from there. The airport's real close by here, and it's a great bug out location, a great clear area right nearby.
That's something that we don't like. We don't think in those terms. We probably should, but the fact that you could live so relatively close to fires that you would have to have an evacuation plan ready. It's really an eye opener for us here in Europe. I guess the guys in Australia will definitely recognize it.
Yep, you kind of got to sleep with one eye open when the winds pipe up. Keep a scanner running when things are really touchy, and don't wait for a call to evacuate. Just evacuate early. Get out of there early, and especially in a wind-driven event. Most of these fires have been exploding in high wind events, and then once the winds die down, you've got time. But not when it's windy out.
No,
very nerve-wracking.
And that's the thing. And I know that we talked about this earlier as well, that you have actually worked quite hard to give information to people locally there. So if you're in California and you need these kind of like really detailed reports about what's going on with the fires, then tune into the Blanco Lirio channel, I guess, but also your Facebook page.
Yep. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of it's going out on Facebook to target the groups where people live specifically and get the information out in real time, and then I'll post some of that up onto the Blanco Lirio channel as well.
Yeah, very good, very good. So, from one thing to the other, from one disaster to another disaster, how are things going with the job market over there?
Where the furloughs are kicking in. So CARES 2 never came around here in the States. So the CARES 1 package is expiring here in October. And so the furloughs are beginning at the U.S. airlines. Furloughs are beginning in September and in October as the airlines got to downsize to match next summer's expected passenger amount of travel. Yeah. So they're paring down the schedule and the manning to meet for next summer. That being said, the furloughs are... We're hoping it'll be a short-term furlough situation, and there may be some measures that allow some of the folks that are furloughed to continue to try to maintain some level of currency while they are out and furloughed.
Yeah. Will there be any permanent redundancies, you think?
Yeah, I think we're going to be permanently smaller for a while. Yeah. And that's going to be primarily done through retirements, furloughing from the top, if you will. We've got quite a few pilots that have opted to retire early, permanently drawing down those numbers. So between that and then the furloughs off the bottom, the whole thing is shrinking a bit.
Yeah, no, but I'm happy to hear that it can be solved that way. I'm guessing that's voluntarily people who choose to go early, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
And that's good, because what we're seeing here in Europe is very different. Here, there's a lot of redundancies, as in not just furloughs, but pure redundancies. People are losing their job left, right, and center at the moment, and it's very hard right now to see, to have a scope over how bad the situation is. The only thing we see, obviously, is that because of the countries having slightly different approaches to the virus. Some of them impose a strict quarantine from certain countries, and these countries changes by the day. It means that passengers, even if they want to travel, they don't have the confidence to do so, so they stay home. which means that the projected travel, but people who actually wanted to go and would have flown, suddenly won't do that anymore. So we, in my airline, for example, we had a quite ambitious plan of going up once the lockdowns closed around 1st of July. We started flying at almost 40 to 50%, and then up to 60, I think 65, 70%. But that's coming
of your schedule.
Of what we were supposed to do, pretty much what we did last year. But
Mm-hmm.
but now it's going way back again, and they have to withdraw even further than they thought they would over the winter, because the bookings are just not there. There's no people flying.
They're not coming in. What's your here in the States? We're seeing we call the TSA turnstile numbers. How many folks are going to the airport? And we saw the numbers come up to about 30% of 2019 numbers as far as number of people traveling. What are you seeing over there? About the same?
Something similar. I don't have a unified TSA, like the equivalent of TSA for Europe, but from what we see booking wise and stuff, it would be somewhere around there, around 30 to 40%. During July, it was up over maybe 50-60% actually. Like, there was a lot of traveling going on. But then all of a sudden the UK decided, for example, that they were going to impose travel restrictions on people who were coming from Spain. And they did that from one day to another, which meant that people who had already traveled to Spain from the UK now found themselves in Spain having to return to a 2-week quarantine that they hadn't counted on. Because that was heavily publicized everywhere. So then people everywhere started thinking, well, if we go out, will we be able to come back and start working again? And if you think like that, then people are just going to say, no, we'll just stay home. We're not going to travel anything this year. So it's had a huge impact on it, because I think that there's been so much work done on the airports, on the airlines, when it comes to the safety of passengers and check-in procedures and screenings and use of masks as mandatory. All of that, there's a lot of it done, but it's just not enough, not at the moment,
to get the passenger comfort level to come on board and fly the aircraft.
Yeah.
So I'm going to return back to the 777. I did not get my 787 bid like I was hoping for, so I got to return to the 777. I'm going to start official training for that next month. One of the things that we're seeing on the 777 here on the West Coast is, they're retiring some of the older airframes, but they've also converted much of the schedule. Well, I think all of the 777 flying here on the West Coast is basically cargo flying now. So all of a sudden, we've become a cargo airline, and we're flying cargo flights with the 777, Hong Kong, Narita, and Sydney, Australia. This is all coming back to Los Angeles, and then we've got some London flights as well. So very interesting. I've not been back flying yet. I got to finish training. Very interesting to see what it's like to be a cargo pilot instead of a passenger pilot on the 777.
Yeah, I mean, and part of me thinks that it's quite cool that they can do a pivot like that.
Yeah.
Because I'm really happy that there is that possibility, because the way that it looks now, I think that it's going to be weak for the coming year and probably the coming 2 years as well. So if we can keep the airlines profitable enough to keep the crew on and to keep it on payroll, then until this is over, because it will be over. Like, we will get back again, but we have to survive until we get there. And doing a pivot onto cargo it's genius. I like to see it.
Yeah, and that's what the 777 excels at, man. It's a cargo hauling machine, much better than the 787. So I'm glad to see some use for that aircraft.
Yeah. Are you getting the 777X?
Don't know. Haven't heard.
Because that looks like a cool machine. I'd love to.
Yeah.
I'd love to get. Hey.
Say hi, Pete. There's Pete. Pete's been getting a little bit of Luscombe time. We picked up MS 2020. We're going to do a little demo video with that, showing a hop around the patch, and he's taken to it quite well.
Yeah. How do you like it so far?
How do you like the MS 2020, Pete? The Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you like that, huh?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Have you tried it, Ron?
I've tried it. Yeah, it's impressive for a game. It's essentially a game. It's quite impressive, and I'm watching a younger generation of pilots grow up. You put them in the real airplane, but then you put them in these simulators, and it's just amazing how quick they adapt, and how how much of that they can take with them into the real airplane at a very, very young age.
Of course, I mean, if you learn the back, like the systems in the background, and you learn how to master the avionics and the MCPs, all of that you can bring with you, providing that you don't pick up anything bad. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's what we've seen as well, that people who've done a lot of time in simulators and actually applied their own SOPs or all other people's SOPs, they need to then de-learn from something and then learn again. Pretty much like when you do an OCC course for people who come in, which is interesting. But I mean, you can learn so much from these. They are fantastic simulators.
Yeah, great way to get started.
Yeah, absolutely.
And inexpensive.
So you're getting over to the 777s. When are you starting your training?
I'll be starting around the beginning of October.
All right, cool.
Yeah, a medium requal course, and there is so much to forget after a year and a half, and so you got to really take it upon yourself to get in there and get studying well before you show up at the schoolhouse, and it's a fire hose retraining to get back up to speed that quickly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They expect a lot from you. They take for granted that most of it is just ingrained in you. But if you've been away for a year and a half, that's a long time.
Yep.
So take your time and make sure that you're well prepared, man.
Yeah, and it's very interesting seeing the changes. The electronic flight bag, the paperless cockpit has really come full circle since I've been gone, and I'm very impressed with the products they're putting out and the way that you can access information quickly and efficiently. Nowadays, things are changing quite a bit, and quite a bit for the better.
How do you like studying from an electronic flight pad rather than the old books?
It's okay. The one thing I do miss is the less and less one-on-one human coursework. You know, you sit down with another instructor and you go through systems. Those days are kind of disappearing, and you're just being replaced with computer training.
Yeah, the CBTs
program, CBTs. Yeah, and I miss the where you can stop and ask questions and really get a deeper understanding of the system.
Cool. Let's see. Someone is saying that there's a big loudness difference. But for me, it sounds good. I don't know. Who can you tell us, guys, which one is sounding louder?
Is mine too quiet? Mine sounds awfully quiet in my headphones.
I don't know. I don't. It sounds great for me. I think I'm probably the quieter one.
Yeah, you sound great on this end. Yep.
There's not much we can do. Anyway, yeah, what I think, to be honest, when it comes to training, I think we're going to go full circle. I think eventually we'll get back to one-on-one instruction from actual instructors, but maybe in a digital form, so that you will sit on something like a Zoom call or a Skype call or whatever, and someone is going to go through with the help of electronic aids and tell you like this, and this, and how it works. And then you'll be able to talk to them and have that one-on-one interaction, because like CBTs can only get you so far. Right now, I really have the feeling that CBTs takes you up to maybe 40% of what you need to learn. The rest of the 60% is learning either by someone in a classroom or in a simulator where they explain it to you. Because that's at least how I learn.
Yeah, I was thinking of bringing back an old school oral evaluation where you went through and explained the overhead pattern in a panel in the aircraft and went through all the different systems. I found some old audio tapes of that. Now, if you put that together with graphics, a graphics presentation, I think that'd be kind of interesting to revisit that old school style of systems instruction.
Yeah, and I think that will come in.
It's more about procedures nowadays than it is systems anyways.
Yeah, well, I mean, you and I, we both know that you need to understand the systems in order to understand the procedures, especially when something goes wrong in the procedures.
Yeah, rather than just rote memorization of a procedure.
Yeah, no, that is a problem that we have, and it's something that, like, if you don't go in deep and understand the systems, when things goes wrong and you have to deal with it later on, it's just going to be a mess. So
see, it goes back to like young Pete on the little simulators, just learning on that without a big deep dive into systems knowledge.
Yeah, but this is where, like, I'm telling people who's doing their ATPL theories, you have the school that has very heavy on the mock exams, and you have the school that's very heavy on the actual instruction. You need to do both in order to be successful, obviously. But if you do a mock exam and you have it's something wrong, it's something, or you fail it, or you have some mistakes in it, you should then take those mistakes and go into the books and understand what it is that you've gotten wrong, not just learn what the correct answer would be, because that's the problem.
That's the problem with CBTs. Yeah, you're just learning what the answers are. You're memorizing the test rather than understanding the whole system.
Correct.
And how it relates to all the other systems. When you start putting electrics and hydraulics and warnings all together, and
but so how did it feel to get? When will you get back flying if your training is done?
October, so that'll wrap up at the end of October, and then I'll get a line check in the beginning of November, and then back on the line.
Perfect. All right, cool.
Yep.
That sounds quite positive. Like, that's what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear that you guys were getting back flying again. And even though there's some furloughs, because I'm likely going to get furloughed as well for a few months of the winter, the main thing is that there is a light at the end of the tunnel that we can get flying again, and it sounds like that's happening.
Yeah. Yep. They'll. I hope so. And the term in Spain you were looking for, I checked with Jenny. I think it's paro.
Paro.
The unemployment. It means to stop or stop work.
Yeah. No, but paro is complete unemployment. What we're actually doing is something called an ERTE, which is an emergency measure that's happening due to COVID now.
Oh, okay. So that's a whole different term. I didn't ask Jenny about that.
Yeah, it's slightly different. I'm not sure that she's up to date on that. It's very new, I think.
Okay. But you'll be able to collect a little bit of both during your furlough.
Yeah, the way that the Spanish government has set this up is that this is not just the aviation business, this is for every business, is that the employers can choose to use workers when they need them. So if I only need to fly 3 days in a month, well, then the employer will pay for those 3 days, and the other days will be worked as unemployment. So the state will kind of top that up. And it's kind of like your CARES Act, which is, it's not this is not going to go on indefinitely. This has an end date to it. But they keep pushing that end date forward. So it's still on. I think it's on until January now, or December for now. So we'll see what happens. But like in Europe, it's very shaky at the moment, and it's very hard to say exactly what's happening. And I guess you guys have more or less the same.
Yep, we're uncertain. We got to build these schedules out for next summer's expected travel season and go from there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Well, be able to react quickly is hard.
Johan, that's great. I just wanted to check in on you and see that everything's great, that you're safe. Keep away from those fires, man. And
we're checking our 6, man.
And get that training done. It'll be interesting to hear what you say once the training is done. How good or bad it was to have to regain all of that after 1.5 years.
Yeah, how hard it is at 58 years old to remember that much that quick.
Yeah, listen, I did a conversion training once where I had these guys coming in from a defunct airline in Eastern Europe. So we took on, I think, 20 guys from that company that gone bankrupt, and my company absorbed some of the captains, and they took them into the training. Right, they came from a 737-800. We're going to fly a 737-800, so they got a shorter version of a conversion course. And I had one guy there, and I think he was your age, maybe even a little bit older. And he was like, he sat down. And I looked through his file, and he was a TRE. He'd been working for 25 or 30 years in his old airline. Very little English, almost all native language. So now they were switching over to a new airline, new standard operating procedures, same aircraft, but new language, which it's a huge leap to take.
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking, this guy, because a lot of the other guys had some real problems with doing this. And I saw his file, and I thought, he is going to struggle. I'm going to have to help him a lot. And I was young then. I was 25 and a synthetic flight instructor, so training as training first officer. And I sat down, and this guy, he had memorized everything before he went to, I still have the hair standing up on my arm when I think about it. When he sat down, he just started doing the new SOPs bit by bit, slowly, very slowly, but accurately. And I thought, if I can be like this dude, when I am his age, I am going to be so proud of myself to be able to do that switch after like 30 years of just switching over to something new and just doing it accurately. That was so impressive.
Good. Yeah, it's a bit of personal pride to be able to show up prepared for these check rides or these training events, and to not be the boat anchor that has to get drugged through like pulling teeth to get answers out of.
Yeah.
It's you want to make the job easier for your instructor.
Yeah, no, it's a huge attitude thing.
Yes, all attitude. Yes, attitude is everything. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I think there's a question here actually. To Johan and Peter, my to-be son-in-law has had time to redo my porch. He's a 737 instructor. Yeah, that goes to tell a little bit what's going on here. There's a lot of people that's doing stuff that they didn't think.
Or starting YouTube channels.
Yeah, there's quite a lot more of new YouTube channels popping up at the moment. Yeah, absolutely. Johan, thank you very much for your time, man.
Thanks, Peter.
I'd love to have you on again, and if you want me to come over on your channel, just give me the word, all right?
Okay.
Guys,
all right, sounds good.
Check out the Blanco Lirio channel, by the way, if you haven't already.
We'll see you here.
See ya. There we go. So it is always awesome to talk to Johan. He is always a pleasure to be discussing with. I've missed a lot of questions here now, guys. I'm going to go through that. I have more guests coming on, so there's a new surprise guest coming on in a while. But we'll go through some questions as well, because I know that you've been asking. So I know that you were complaining about my audio. I don't know why that is actually, because I think it's just that his audio, his mic is just much better than mine. I have to get myself one of those. Jake Schroeder's asking, when you were a first officer, did a captain ever do something you thought was unsafe? Yeah, it happened. But the thing is, my airline, fortunately, is one of those airlines that prides themselves in having a fairly low cockpit gradient. This means that they teach the first officers from the very first day that they need to be able to speak up. And they crucially also teach the captains that they need to listen to the first officers. So sometimes there will be things, and you should remember this as well, what you think might be unsafe when you're a young cadet and you haven't flown much might not be unsafe. You might not understand what is going on. So the key there was to ask questions. Whenever I didn't understand something, whenever I saw something that I thought, well, this might be a bit dodgy, well, then I asked the question. Like, okay, so why are we doing this? Shouldn't we be at 250 at this point? Or shouldn't we start to descend now? We're getting close to the airport. And then you would have either the captain saying, oh, yeah, I missed that, thanks. And then ask for some extra vectors and you get down. Or the captain saying, yes, in normal circumstances, that will be the case. But since we have this here happening, we're not doing that. So, I've always found that asking questions, if you are not sure to start with, is the first big step you take. And then obviously if the person then continues with something that is obviously unsafe, well, then you have to step it up and you have to become more assertive and you have to speak your mind and say that, listen, I do not agree with this. I think that we should do this. I'm not happy with this. It's always a word. That wording is generally very strong. To speak to a captain, your first officer, and you look at them and you say, Captain, I am not happy with this. That is a very strong signal that can be used. I didn't have to use it much though. I have to say that first thing of just asking a question helped a lot. So it's not something that's worth remembering. Skill WPO. Hello from Luton. What can you say about MH370? It would be great if you can do a video about it. Yeah, the thing with talking about MH370 without knowing much is that you can end up sounding like a fool. I can only do what all of the other channels out there have been doing, which is educated guesses of what happened. No, I'm not gonna go in. My strength lies in explaining things when I know the facts. I know the facts behind, and then portraying it to you in a way that you can understand it from a pilot's point of view. That's kind of what I do. So for me to sit and talk about MH370 and say that, well, it might have been a pilot who did this, or it might have been an unlawful intercept of some kind, or there might have been a fire on board, or might be something. That's just it. I don't think that it would look. I definitely wouldn't look very good. I don't think that you would be very happy with it either. So if they ever find a black box, and whenever they can kind of conclude the final report to it, then I'll be happy to discuss it. But until then, I think it's one of those that I'll probably leave alone. But there are loads of other incidents that I would love to take up. And my idea with the whole incident and accident video chain that I put together, or the playlist, is to show you both where pilots have done an excellent, outstanding job. That is what I've done now in the first couple of ones. But I'm also going to go through where there's been mistakes made and where those mistakes have taught us something. So when you can learn something from a accident or incident. So most of the things that I'm going to go back quite far in history, and I'm going to bring back some accidents and incidents that happen that have changed the way that aviation works for the better, as in make aviation safer. Because that's something that you need to understand, that we take every single tragic incident or accident and we learn from it. We implement new rules, new standard operating procedures, and you make it better and better so that they become less and less of these accidents. That's why aviation is so safe, right? This is how we work, and that's what I want to try to portray to you. So if I start talking about accidents and incidents, it's not because I want people out there who are afraid of flying or who are nervous flyers to become more. No, I want you to understand why aviation right now is so safe and how much we are focusing on making it safer and safer every single day of operation. That's what we're trying to achieve. Let's see. Larry, Anthony, is your life in the cockpit normalizing? Thank you very much, Larry, by the way, for the support. Yes, life in the cockpit is normalizing. We still have the masks whenever we have the door open. There's a lot of new procedures depending on which country you're flying into. There's new PAs. The cabin crew has to work in a completely different way. So it's not normalizing us, and it's not going back to what it used to be. But anything gets normal after a while. Like if they would tell us that we have to do stuff in swimsuits, that will feel really weird for the first few weeks, but eventually you will come across a way to deal with it, and it becomes normal. So yes, things are normalizing, but they're not normal, right? And they won't be until we have a strategy to deal with this, until there are some good medicines to fight it, and maybe even a vaccine. But I think, it'll be shaky for the next year or two, I think. Ecraft game. How do you tell the difference from the 737 and the 777? Yeah, they're completely different aircraft. The 777 is much bigger. In fact, I think the body of a 737 can fit through the radius of the 777's engine. That's how big the 777 is. In the cockpit, the 777 is similar to the 737, but it is more modern. But there are many ways that you can see the difference in between the two. George Nicolau Montean, thank you very much for your support. Private planes can take off whenever they want. No. Private planes operate under the same rules as everyone else. If you have your own airfield, your own airstrip, for example, and you happen to work or fly within Class G airspace, which is uncontrolled airspace, then yes, then you can potentially take off and land whenever you want. Generally, though, you have to kind of call out ATC in blind to make sure that there's no people around or it's about to come in and land at your airfield. But yes, there is a possibility that you can do that under certain circumstances. Whenever you're operating in normal airports, then you're subject to the same rules. You have to get clearance, you have to talk to our traffic control. All of that is exactly the same. Except, visual flight rules and instrument flight rules are slightly different. But if you're flying on the visual flight rules, you have to apply with those rules. Annette Carlson, to Johan, what are your favorite things about the 737-800? Annette, if you send me an email, I'm going to try to ask Johan that question and see. Now, he flies the 777, and I think he flew the 800 long ago, if I'm not mistaken. But that was a while ago. He's been flying the 777 for quite a while now. And of course, what he would say is that the 737 is a better aircraft in almost every way, obviously, because Scott Lowry, hey Scott, great to have you here. Hi Petra. And when your company gets 737 Max, will you be informed if you go out to fly one back, or do Boeing just fly them in? There's a dedicated team that does the delivery flights, so it probably won't be me flying and getting those things, even though I would love to do that. It's a real honor to go and do that. And when they they pitch up in the fleet. First of all, I think that the Maxes are going to be flying on specific routes to start off with, and then they might start to go in and be kind of incorporated into the general fleet. And in that case, providing that we've done the approved training for it, we're properly rated on it, then you can fly a 737-800 one day and a 737 MAX the other day. It's no difference between the two, and you will not, like, you will know it because you see the aircraft type when you check in on your electronic flight, in your electronic flight bag, basically, but not more than that. Kaliman Matei, thank you very much for your support. Vincent Chen, Petter, you need a better mic with Alpha, please. Well, I'll see what I can do. I'm actually looking into making a completely new studio and start making that, the videos and live streams and eventual maybe streaming from there. So then I will definitely be looking into more and better equipment. Rudolf, Abelin, Johan and Petter, to my son at the time to redo my port. He's a 737 instructor. Yeah, that's what we talked about. Yeah, like, you'd be surprised, guys, on how many people who were pilots just a few months ago have lost their jobs and are now looking into doing things that they never thought that they would do. I have friends who have started off like their gardening business, and one of my best friends is now working with like cutting lawns for people and, chopping wood and digging trenches and redoing street work. He loves it. Like that was something that he was good at before, and he's just started a company and started doing that. Another friend of mine has started to drive trucks. So he's taken his truck driver license and he's now delivering things in Stockholm. So, like, this is reality. When these kind of things happens and entire industries effectively get paralyzed, then you have to adapt. And that's what I will try to do as well. Now, I have a huge benefit in the fact that I have you guys and that I built this channel, and what I do through my Mentour Aviation app, through my Facebook, to Instagram, YouTube, all of this that I do every single day can actually sustain me. So whenever you guys are using the super chat and you're actually supporting my company, you're supporting me and my family, and we are using this to actually get through this. So I don't have to go out and start driving a truck, for example. But the reality is that this is the worst crisis that we have seen for aviation in my lifetime. There's no question about this. I don't think that it will go for very long. I think that it will take a year or two, but we have to get through that year or two. Like that's the reality of things. So yeah, and I always talk about how you need to be resilient. This is resilience. Resilience is to be able to see that, okay, this is an issue, right? This is not what I planned for, but this is the solution. I go for the solution, and you go for it, right? It's not sitting back and it's like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen now. I'm going to panic. Realize that you have a lot of qualities, and if you've been working as an airline pilot for many years, well, then you know how to work in a team. You're a very strong communicator. You are a leader. You're a very technical person, and you can absorb a lot of new knowledge quickly. These are great qualities that you can use in any other business, really. So I'm going to invite a friend of mine actually very soon, and I'm going to do a live stream with him, and he is an expert in doing exactly this, in converting pilots into other industries and then bring them back if needed. And we're going to talk more about these kind of things. But you have to pride yourself in doing that. Just like if you thought that you were going to go and land in one airport and that turns out to be closed and you have to go to another airport, this is the same thing but in life, right? Timothy, let's see. No, I jumped one here. Aviation Mayhem, that's a great nickname. Hi Petter, can the speed brake on the 727 be extended at any speed, and at what speed does it become non-effective? It can be extended at any speed to the flight detent. It cannot be extended with more than flaps 10 generally. Flaps 15 and upwards, we tend not to use the speed brakes. And they become less effective the lower the speed is, but they are still effective. So you have an effect even if you're back at 200 knots. But if you extend them at 300 knots, you're going to have a much bigger effect when using them. But yes, they can be used speed-wise, they can be used at any speed. Timothy Simmons, could you do an analysis of Aloha Airlines Flight 243? I'm actually a little bit ahead of you on that one. We'll see. Okay. Carl B. Hey, Petter. Should we be buying stocks in your favorite Northern European airline based in England, fourth busiest airport just now, or nay? All right, stock tips is something that I try to keep away from, especially in the airline business. However, what I can say is out of this crisis, there's going to come two airlines that is going to be much stronger. At least that's my personal opinion. These are one that you wouldn't think about, and another one that you definitely would think about, right? These are airlines that one of them is new, the other one, or newish, and the other one is an established airline. And the established airline is very good at handling crisis and actually takes advantage of them and becomes stronger through them in most of the cases. So if those stocks are down lower than what they would have been on average over the last 5 years, then they are probably worth buying. But don't quote me on it, all right? Because the airline industry is very volatile. It's very hard to make quick, good stock advice on it. Slides 33. As an instructor, TRE, how do instructors' hours integrate with your schedule? Do you fly less than normal, or can you do instruction in extra? I fly less than normal. I normally fly 3 weeks, and then I do 1 week of instructing. And when I do 1 week of instructing, then I don't fly. So that means that my overall hours it's reduced, which is a good thing. I like flying a little bit less than the full 900 hours per year. If I fly 500-600, that's perfect for me, and do the instruction the less. Okay, guys, we're gonna stop there. Will, I'm gonna come to your super chat question in a while because I want to get my next guest in, which is another European pilot. So I want to have her input in how things are going for her and what she thinks about the current situation as well. You're welcome to come with questions, but I do focus on my guests, so I might not be able to take your super chat questions immediately and stuff. But let me get her on the line and see how she is doing in all of this mess. So let's see. Always, there we go. Michelle!
Hi.
Hey, great to have you here. How are you doing?
Good, and you?
Well, I am good for given the first circumstances. I'm very good, actually.
Yeah.
So, so how are things? We haven't spoken since you were on the channel last. That was like 6 months ago.
6 months ago already?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Well, actually, I have flown a lot since then.
Good.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but we started up half June again, and basically the company was divided in a couple of groups, where one of the groups was recent and current, and I fell in that group, thank God. So I was able to fly actually a lot since then. So 5 days, 6 days, 4 days.
So what happened to the ones who were in the not current group?
Sorry?
So what happened to the ones who were in the not so current group then?
Well, they had to be recurrent because there are a lot of people who are working part-time, and they took holidays just before, and then before you know it, you're not current.
Yeah, I know.
Not for instance, one of the two, and then they just make the groups flying, which are both. And my group, which just started basically, was the most recent and current. So we were lucky. So I cannot complain in this situation.
Yeah, I know. Good. And how is it looking for the coming month? Have you seen anything on your roster? Is it kind of dying down or?
Yeah, well, last couple of months have been crazy actually for me. I thought, okay, if this is 60%, then I don't know what is 100%. Okay, but now, I received my roster a couple of weeks ago, I think, and standbys, reserves. So it's not looking good because obviously, like Spain for us is closed.
Yeah.
Greece for us is closed. Croatia is, well, not closed, but I mean, not to be advised to go there. So that's not good.
No, and this is what I find in Europe, which is really frustrating, is that I would like to see, when you have the European Union, you would think that they would be able to sit down and say, okay, right, these are the rules we're going to be following, because the virus seems to be everywhere now. There's no country that is spared from the virus in Europe, which means that you will have transmission happening. So there need to be like common rules, maybe testing at the arrival airport or something like that can give some kind of, so that passengers knows if they can travel or not. Because now you could go one day and the next day you get stuck and you can't get back.
Or you have to go back.
And that, of course, that kills not only the airline industry but the hospitality industry, all of the hotels, all of the bars, all of the, like, it's a huge mess.
I cannot imagine how they're gonna survive, how they're gonna do it.
No.
It's really
there's going to be needed some incredible kind of state support of some sort. Because the summer here down, in Spain is a huge tourism country. A lot of the local economy, especially along the coastline, builds on the fact that there's loads of tourists coming in. And in July they came, but now they're gone. There's 1 month instead of 3.5 like it's normally. So
it's really sad.
It's
also
very sad.
When we were flying, when we started flying, it was okay, right? The planes were, well, not completely full, but like 150 people going towards Spain, coming back from Spain. But ever since it got orange, as in non-advisable to go there, there are only people having a house there or having to go back, and that's just really not good.
No, and it's not. And I mean, I know that, that traveling is not. They advise against traveling in general, and I could understand that, especially in the beginning when people, the states didn't know what they were dealing with and stuff. But like I said, I think that now it is everywhere, and we're gonna have to kind of deal with it in some way. So some way of safely moving passengers in between countries is what I think we're gonna have to work against. Otherwise, we'll be stuck like this for years, and then when people want to start traveling again, there will be no airline industry to fly with.
Exactly. Also, the other day I flew to Greece, like Cyprus I flew to, and we had just one passenger. It was really like, seriously, we have like 5 cabin crew here, and there was even one in training. I mean, for just one passenger, it's really not good.
No,
so,
I've done UK flights the last 3 weeks, and we've had like 65 booked and 10 turning up. So 10 passengers each way. In a 737, it's not great.
You just wonder, when are they gonna let the flight go or not? It has a lot of things, of course. There's a lot of things to consider to let a flight not go, like slots and that stuff. But it's
it is. But then again, on the positive side is that I think, at least I get the feeling that even though we have increasing numbers in Spain, and a lot of different countries, the UK as well has a big rise. There is a feeling that at least the hospitalization rates are going down. So while the number of people getting the virus is increasing, it seems like they're getting it under control on the medical side. And when that happens, hopefully it will become normalized. The fear will drop a little bit, and then we'll get a vaccine eventually. But I don't think that's going to happen until maybe next year.
What do you think about next year?
Yeah, what I think. Okay, and don't quote me on this. I know there's a lot of people look now. I think but I think that during this winter we are going to see whether or not there is a vaccine coming out. I think that it's going to be something. They're doing class 3 testing in the States and all over the world. So I think maybe in January or something, we'll probably see the first couple of vaccines coming out. Now, they won't be able to ship them to the whole population, but they will be able to ship them to the vulnerable, the risk groups, the elderly, the people working inside of the hospitals, which is the main thing. Mm-hmm. And with that, there will be confidence building. And with confidence, when that builds, it means that the states will go out of panic mode and will go into a more informed way of dealing with each other. Yeah. And when there is a unified kind of rule system saying that, yes, everyone can travel, you have to wear masks, you have to do testing or whatever, then as long as you know that you won't get any like surprise legal stuff happening to you, you won't suddenly end up in 2 weeks quarantine. I think that in the beginning of next summer, we'll see an increase, nowhere close to 2019 levels, but maybe 65% in the beginning, rising towards maybe 75-80% towards the end of 2021. And I think in 2022 we'll be back to at least intra-Europe kind of normalized levels. Long haul is going to take longer than that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I think.
Become more healthy, for the airlines, and which remain then. And yeah, they can just, people also have trust to go on holiday again or by plane,
Because there's another thing that there's another thing that I think a lot of people forget when things like this happen, is that we humans, we tend to be very focused on how things are right now. And we change that very quickly, which means that people get tired of crisis. Even though a crisis still exists, people get tired of it. And they just want to travel again. They just want to go again. And I think there's going to be a pent-up need to go on vacation and to kind of feel that this is all over. I want to get rid of this. So I think that there will be a lot of people who want to travel next year already. Whether or not that's going to work, that's another question. But I do think that while 2020 has been just terrible from every perspective, 2021 will start to be more positive, and 2022 it will be in the back mirror. That's what I think. And then it's just a matter of regaining, like you said, are there any airlines left? Like, which airlines are left?
Yeah. Well, probably yours.
The ones that I think a lot of the airlines that has the money to survive and who takes initiative now are going to survive. I think the ones that backtracks is going to have a problem.
Yeah, but what about your refund policy? Because, of course, now there are many people who already paid, right, for the tickets, and they're like, you know what, I'll just go and see what happens. Like, that's what made us gain some profit during these months.
Yes.
But next year, of course, maybe people are going to think like, shall we book a ticket or wait last minute? So that income you're not going to have, maybe last minute, but...
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. But I think that what we'll see, and this is something I actually hope for on a personal level, and I think that we already see it in some airlines that are starting to change the rebooking policy to say that they will pay you back no matter what. You can change no matter what. They don't care anymore why you choose to change your travel or why you choose not to go, and they will pay anyway. And I think that is a smart move to get people to start trying again.
Exactly, because it's like, okay, if not, then I'll just change it.
Yeah.
Don't lose your money, because that's like another step, right? Some people work one complete year to go on holiday for a week or something. And
I think you will only do that when, you will only do that once. You will only pay and not turn up once, or maybe twice if it's really cheap. But you will not do it. You don't want to feel like you're being screwed out of money for nothing. And when I say that, I mean that right now the policy is that if you pay for a ticket and that flight actually goes, but you choose not to turn up, you forfeit your money. That's the way that it works. Right. It's only when the flight is cancelled for whatever reason that you have a chance to get back money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think that is something that might change. I think airlines might go in and say, listen, no, if they feel like they're not going to, we're going to waive that just to get people back in flying again. Plus, there's going to be huge discounts in the beginning.
So people are going to get money when they go on the plane, or?
Yeah, I think some airlines would probably do that just to fill it up, because they want they need the machine to start moving again. That's the thing. If people get used to staying at home, for the airlines, that's not a good thing. I think that the airline executives, even though from an environmental standpoint, that's probably a better thing long term, but from the business point of view, if people do staycation at home every year and they just go to the next village with their car, if they get used to that, then it's going to be hard to get the low fare model keep pumping again. So I think there's going to be discounts to get people just back traveling again. But we'll see how long that's going to work from an economic point of view.
You cannot give discounts forever, because then you can just wrap your bags and go.
And for us, from pilot's perspective, I mean, I get a lot of questions about this, and people ask now, should I start training to become a pilot or not?
Oh, yeah.
And I would say that, and I've always said this on my live streams, is that in this business, you never know what's going to happen. Have 2019 was a record-breaking year. It was a fantastic year. And then the pandemic hit, and no one would have foreseen that happening. even in my wildest dreams, were people asking like, what's the worst thing that could happen? I would have said like it's going to be a war somewhere, something that brings up the oil price. I didn't think about the global pandemic. So
But it's like aviation. I already like figured this out when I got out of flight school and could not get a job. I was like, okay, probably aviation is running or standing still. And run when you need to run, and when you're standing still, you cannot do anything else. But it's like this all the time.
Yeah.
And it will continue to be so. And now we're all standing still, but in a few years, I mean,
it will be running again.
Exactly.
I am 100% sure of that, because that's another way that we tend to focus on, like, now it's crisis, so it will never stop again. But it will never start again. But no, the way that it is, it's always cyclical, it goes up and down. So I really, really feel for the people who started training 2 years ago and is coming out of their training into this. Those are the people I feel the worst for, because I think that within the next 2 years it's going to be hard to find cadet jobs in Europe. It might happen in the rest, like in the possible that Asia will start to pick up before us, but in Europe it's going to be, I think, about 2 years before we start seeing low-hour cadets being brought into airlines again. But once that happens, mark my words, in 2023, 2024, there's going to be the mother of shortages. That's what I think. Because if people are not training now, together with a lot of people going into retirement, going into pre-retirement even, because they couldn't take this again. And some people are actually retraining to go into other businesses. If this starts picking up again, then there's going to be the whole, like, when things goes down, it will come up again. And that's what I think. So I think that actually starting training now and taking 2 years, you might actually get out into a fairly good economy. But once again,
I believe so too. It's just that the people who graduate now, they have to find a way to hold on, to stay current, to go to those simulator sessions, because the same with me, like, not comparing to this COVID-19, obviously, but like back then, I remember everything was stuck. No one was hiring. And all of a sudden, this opens, that opens, and you have to run, you have to be ready, because they're not going to call you like months prior. They're going to call you a week or a few days. And it comes like out of nowhere. And that's going to happen exactly in a few years. And you got to be prepared, because otherwise you have one chance, most of the time. So you got to do it right.
Actually, that's a brilliant point. It's a very good point, that it's going to feel like it's going to be feeling terrible now. And you think that you're stuck and you don't get any answers on your applications and things like that. But you have this time now to try to make yourself a better pilot and also to survive. And this is why I've been saying as well to people to try to keep their economic exposure as low as possible, so that they can take another job if they can find another job in this industry or in this world right now. But to be able to kind of live through it, like you say, survive while they keep their skills sharp. And why because people will be asking, like during the interview, they will ask, what did you do during this downturn? How did you keep yourself sharp? And you need to have a good answer to that.
Yeah, and then you're going to be in a time where there are a lot of candidates, right? Because everybody is like searching for that same job. So if you can make yourself a little bit different from the rest by doing something in aviation, even if it's working for your channel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for doing something, at least anything is better than doing something completely else.
Yes.
And like I did at that time, I just started working for a lawyer's office to just gain some monthly like income. And then I was in the meantime searching for something inside of the aviation industry to maintain my skills, whether that was on a real aircraft like an Archer or Cessna, or in a simulator. In my case, it was a simulator, but it was something,
I remember that. I actually was in contact with you when you were in that sim center.
It's true. We had also a Skype call at the time.
Yes, true.
I was working there, yeah.
See, that feels like yesterday, but that was a while back now.
It was super long ago.
Yeah. No, that's great. But yes, I did the same. I was working on the ramp. I was an airport firefighter, and I was working with cleaning aircraft and loading aircraft and doing anything. And just like you, I wanted to be close to aviation, understand the operations around it, and just do anything that was associated with it, because it would make me better eventually.
Yeah. exactly. And also, like with you, you speak to people, you know, if there are any vacancies, you will probably hear it like first or as one of the first people, and not at the end when everybody has already seen the link on the internet.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very important. Connections as well, and yeah, they keep you up to date.
Good. Yeah, no, absolutely. So you guys, you're not facing any furloughs or any layoffs in the immediate future, or?
Well, they're having a conversation now with the unions, and there's going to be more clear about that in October. So until then, we just have to wait.
Yeah.
But yeah, you never know. You never know.
That's the thing. There's a lot of uncertainty right now in almost all airlines. No one really knows. Everyone is kind of just hunkering down and hoping that things will turn out well. But do you have any plans in case there is a furlough? In case, like for me, for example, I am looking into a potential 4-month furlough now up until next summer.
Yeah.
Which I will obviously use then to produce material and work on the channel. That's what I will do. Do you have any plans in case you don't get to fly much over the winter?
Well, I am very lucky that that at this moment that I'm still having a job, you know, that I do get paid. So it's not that I'm like unpaid or anything. So that is already a huge like step ahead. But if I would get fired for any reason, then I'll also just work on the channel, you know, do some work there and just work on that Dutch Pilot Girl thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has to come from somewhere, you know. You see also a lot of people who are now in between jobs or do not have a job, and they're literally working at the supermarket.
Yeah.
And people are thinking like, that's incredible, that's impossible, but it is possible, you know, so you have to do something.
Yeah, that's what I was saying just before I called you up, actually, that resilience, this is where you show what kind of resilience you're made of. You know, this is where you go in and like, okay, so I wouldn't want to work at McDonald's because I was an airline captain, but hey, I need to feed the family, so I'll do what it takes. That's what life is, really.
And a lot of pilots are now facing that situation.
Yeah, they're facing that situation, and it's not pleasant at all, but it is a reality. And I think it's going to be short term, but you cannot let yourself be beaten down by it. You have to look at it as, okay, this is my reserve fuel.
You have to survive, you know, no matter what, and figure it out, do something.
Absolutely.
And especially nowadays, like if you have a laptop and internet, you can do so many things. People think that they have to start a business with an actual product or actual something to work with, but you can find so many things, so many information on the internet, and you can build from there. And it will not be overnight, of course. You will not wake up like and having a monthly income, but you can start to work on it as a passive income, maybe, or your number one if you do not have a job at the moment. But it is possible. Like you're living in a world where you have access to that information, and
In fact, you're absolutely right, and in fact, it is turning that way. As in, what we're seeing now is a world that is in flux, is changing, and it's changing towards more, for example, internet businesses, for more e-commerce.
Yeah.
All of these things are happening right now, and they're actually increasing. So if you take the chance right now to go in to do something like that, if you're good at selling, or you're good at instructing, or you're good at doing something like that, first of all, you need to realize that you have that quality, and then you just need to try. And I've been talking to some of my FOs actually that I'm flying with that have had these kind of, been afraid about this, and said, just start it. Like, just do it.
Yes.
Start it, because you're going to suck at it in the beginning, no matter what it is, but you get better at it. The only way that you're absolutely sure that you'll fail is if you don't start it at all. And that's a cliche, obviously, but it's true.
Yeah, and it also, like many people I talk to, they think like, oh, I have to think about something completely new. Like, I have to make something up which is going to do great. Well, yeah, or you can do something which is already working. You're just going to do it the same, but better, And that's also like an initial mindset that you can have to just gain something, like some income. And, whether you like it or not, I would suggest you do something you like, but like there are many different ways, right? And
Absolutely.
There's definitely no excuse nowadays to not do anything.
No. You have to. You cannot sit down. You can sit down and cry for 2 days, but that's the maximum. Then you have to get something going again. Otherwise, this won't work. How's the app going?
Well, actually, that's a lot of work.
I know. I know.
It is all the time, because my dad and my brother, they are really into the IT, so they are like looking into the software behind it, but also how it looks, because obviously it has to look like good. You can have a great app, but if it doesn't look good, then it's not really nice, But it costs a lot of time, and the updates, every little thing that needs to be changed. I mean,
I know.
Oof, yeah, I know you've had with the Mentour Pilot app, right?
Yeah, the Mentour Aviation app is the same, but you have the benefit of having your brother and father to do the updates. I have to outsource the updates, so that costs money as well.
Exactly, and also for them, like they start. Well, my dad likes to explore things. He likes to do that and to just figure out how to make an app like that. And in the beginning, it's fine, but then of course it has so much frustration, because he's like a Windows type, right? So he has his own Mac OS like environment on his Windows computer. That is like working with iTunes on a Windows computer. Like at the end of the day, you just want to throw your laptop out the window, because there's no way to work with that.
I know.
And yeah, it's really.
But listen,
I almost feel sad about him making the app. Like the pre-flight app, which is already online, right, is doing well. It also costs him a lot of effort. He likes it, but I don't know how you did it, like with outsourcing it, because it's crazy expensive if you do that.
Yeah. No, but you have to tell them now. So guys, if you haven't already, go over to the App Store and check out the Dutch Pilot Girl app. I don't know, if you search for Dutch Pilot Girl, you find the app, don't you?
Yes, that's true. It's called Pre-Flight, but you can find it also on Dutch Pilot Girl.
Yeah, perfect. Go and check it out.
But didn't you ever think about stopping with that app after such a crazy expense? And
yeah, no, and I'll tell you why. The Mentour Aviation app, I started it and I have pivoted many times, right?
Yeah.
I started the Mentour Aviation app because I wanted, the reason I started was that I wanted to give people a chance to look into the cockpit. Because I realized that we had a closed cockpit door. People who wanted to become pilots, they needed to have a chance to go in and see how it looked. So that's why the first iteration I did was a 360 video app. So people could go in and they could see me doing stuff like wind shear escape maneuvers and stuff in 360. And they could get one of these headsets. I don't know if I have one here. One of these old like Google, these ones. And look around, right? So that was the first reason I did it. But then I realized that on top of that, people wanted to talk to each other. So that's when I created the Mentour Aviation app, which is a social app with chats and forums and stuff like that on it. And then I realized after a while that that's also really, really hard to keep up with. So then I added news to it. And now I have a dedicated team, out of which I know at least 2 of my admins are here. James, Sam, I think Adrian is here as well now, monitoring the chat. They're doing a fantastic work with just finding news and then putting that onto the app every single day. And I noticed that now most people are actually using the app just to read the news. They're not interacting as much as they did before. So yes, the answer to your question is yes. I have thought about stopping it because it just like it eats a lot of money and time. However, what I've realized is that the reason really you should make an app is not as a thing in its own. Like you shouldn't make an app because you want an app. You should make an app because it helps something. Maybe you have a part of your business that requires an app. And in my case, I am going to use my app because I'm starting to build a course for nervous flyers. And I'm going to use the app as a vehicle for that. I'm going to have people being able to get the course both from my website, but also when they buy it on my website, they get it on the app. And then they will be able to use all of the forums to talk to each other. So you're a nervous flyer, you sit by the gate, you want to talk to someone else to get some support. Well, then you have the app. So it becomes a vehicle for that. And you can talk to a pilot like me, or you can talk to an aviation enthusiast that can tell you that, listen, don't worry, this and this are happening right now. That's why you hear that sound or whatever. So now I am seeing how that can become a vehicle, the vehicle that I wanted it to be. But I mean, it's, if you compare it to, for example, YouTube or Instagram or something like that, this is a completely different world.
Yeah. But I think it's a world which is increasing, because it's interesting to have an app. It's like, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, you learn a lot.
Yeah. I can imagine. They're not about money, Julia.
Yeah, you do. You learn why you learn why Fortnite are doing what they're doing right now, and they're attacking Apple and Google.
Yeah.
Cool. Listen, I'm not going to keep you on for longer. I just wanted to check on you to make sure that you're safe and that you're doing well and you're continuing to fly.
Thank you for having me.
It's always great to have you on the channel, Michelle. Guys, if you haven't checked out Michelle's channel, Dutch Pilot Girl, go and do that after the video. And we'll keep in contact.
Yeah, we'll do.
Perfect.
Have a great evening.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah, this is great. I know, guys, that you've asked for me to reach out and do a little bit more interview stuff, and I am. There's new guests on the way, but I also want to do this. I kind of checked in on all guests to make sure that everyone is doing okay and to give you a little bit of an insight about what's going on in the aviation world. So I hope that you enjoy that. Now I'm going to go back to answer the last couple of the questions here. Man. It's always great to speak to colleagues about these things. Sorry if we kind of start rambling on, but that's what happens when you get two pilots and a cup of coffee each. So Will was on the last super chat here. Is the APU usually turned on prior to gate arrival? Seems hard on the APU to have so many start shutdown cycles if ground power is used at the gate. I try not to start it up if I know that I'm going to get ground power. If I'm late, then I might start it off in order to kind of get back onto schedule, because sometimes it might take a while for ground power to arrive at the aircraft. And in some places, you might actually have to turn off the anti-collision light before any ground personnel gets close, even to putting the ground power. So then you have to start it up. But yeah, of course, it's not good with a lot of cycles on it, but that's what it's built for. So I kind of more think about it in an environmental standpoint. I don't want to run an extra jet engine if I can avoid it. Chris Moffat, thank you for support. Planes are not flying, pilots are not flying. Do you see a possibility that there will be an increase in unforeseen mechanical issues and pilot mistakes due to this once the rush starts? No, and I'm going to tell you why. All right, we know about this threat. Right, this is not a threat that comes out of nowhere. Everyone who's in the training industry knows that if you have pilots not flying, it's going to be a threat. And everyone who is an aircraft mechanic or an engineer knows that if an aircraft is standing on the ground, it needs to be maintained. So there's a huge focus on this threat. The training, when we had people returning back into service after having been stood down for a few months, we had a dedicated training program with training pilots who did a lot of flights, like training captains flying with first officers. Even though they don't need to legally, there was still a training program set out. There was huge tracking on everyone's performance to make sure if someone said that they needed a bit more extra, they got more. The simulators have been utilized to its absolute maximum to try to avoid this. So this is a known threat that is treated as such. So no, even though yes, you would come across pilots that might feel a bit rusty, in fact they have been checked through a system and been proven to work well. So no, I don't think that that's going to be such an issue, because that would be a huge failure on behalf of the training organizations and the maintenance organizations if that were allowed to happen. But obviously from an on-seer, I can definitely see how you could see that as a possibility. So it's a great question, actually. I'm really happy that you asked that. Gary Jones, thank you very much. That I love these little animations that they've added onto. It's really cool. Thank you, Gary, for your support. Sam, thank you. Sam is one of my hugely talented admins in the Mentour Aviation app. So guys, definitely check out the app. He and James are the ones that are filling it up with news all the time. There's like 20 to 40 news articles every single day from the aviation business inside of the app, completely for free, guys. So I hope that you've downloaded the app if you haven't already. Sam, have oxygen mask ever dropped accidentally? No. I think that sometimes the doors open. If you have a really hard landing, you can have some of the doors open, and that could have them falling out. But generally, no, not accidentally, all of them. What can happen though? In the 737, you have the test for the voice recorder has a guarded switch, which is horizontal, and then next to it, it's a vertical switch for the oxygen release. And if people are tired in the morning, they can come in, and it's actually it's threaded. Like there's a thread that you need to break in order to take off the oxygen switch. But they could, instead of opening the voice recorder tests, they could open the oxygen, and that has happened. So then you've had the rubber jungle falling down, all of the masks falling down, and you have 3 hours delay where they have to reset all of the oxygen masks, which is not great, and you're going to have very hard time explaining that to the chief pilot afterwards. John Ellis, have you seen doctors becoming airline pilots? Yes. Yeah, I have. I flew, one of the best captains I flew with was a trained doctor, and he became a pilot, and then he just went back, I think, to be a pilot, to become a doctor, and I think he became the head medical officer for the aviation authority in the country that he worked for. So yes, that happens. Vincent Chen, much love to your channel. Very happy VFR conditions, sir. Well, thank you very much. Very much appreciated. Clay Humans, you should do a video on the Gimli glider. Yes, I should. Clay Jones again. Air Canada is offering a monthly unlimited travel pass in Canada now. I'm sure this is part of their plan to get traffic going again. Yeah, absolutely. You'll see a lot of these kind of incentives coming now, especially for the next year, I think, to get people back flying again. The Nuke Warfare 2. Can you talk about the MD-83 in 2017 in Michigan that aborted after we won? It wouldn't rotate. Are there times a crew should do an RTO after we won? No, but if the aircraft can't fly, it can't fly. Then you have no choice. I mean, if you rotate and the aircraft won't fly for whatever reason, eventually you are going to have to start trying to get it stopped before you crash into whatever is on the other side of the runway. But no, as a rule, after we won, we try to get airborne at any cost. Okay. People have asked me, like, well, what if you lose both engines? Well, then obviously, like, without engines, you won't be able to fly, so obviously you're going to reject them. But in most conditions, V1 is the decision. Like, the decision is made before we won, but V1 is where you will go. All right? It's just as easy as that. And then for some reason, I can't see the last two super chats there. I'm going to try to find them in the normal chat instead. Stuart Bailey, Richard Burr is there. Thank you very much for Richard. $737 US. Thank you very much. That's nifty. Cool. Stuart Bailey. Hi Mentor. I did a 737 NG simulator session last week, and the pilot instructor also watches your videos. See? Great. It was great fun. Hand flew a visual approach landing into Gatwick. Great. I'm so happy to hear that. Those 737, like, there's a lot of different flight schools out there who have 737 simulators that they might or might not be using as much now. So now is definitely the time to contact them and see if you can come in and do one of these flights. And if you do, right, then the more prepared you are, the more fun you're going to have in it. So be it that you are a 737 flight simmer and you do it on X-Plane 11, or you do it on, well, no, we can't do it on Flight Sim 2020 yet. That's what I'm waiting for, to get a 737 model. But in any case, the more you know, the more fun you will have. And that's why I have, right now, guys, until the 22nd, which is my birthday, I have 50% off on the all-included collection in the Mentour Aviation app. Okay, so if you go into the Mentour Aviation app and you get the collection now. It costs €10 today, tomorrow, and on Tuesday instead of the normal 20. And it's 2 hours of 737 instruction in 360. All right. So the app in itself is completely free. You can download the app, go in, you can chat, you can watch news. All of that is free. But if you want the 2 hours of 737 instruction, well, then for the next 3 days it's down 50%, and I do that as part of my birthday sale. So there's 50% down on that collection. It's also 30% on all merchandise. So if you go to Teespring and you use the code PILOT30, then you get 30% on all my merchandise, on the masks, on the t-shirts, on everything that I have, the cups, and I do that until my birthday. So end on Tuesday, okay? But I highly recommend you, if you're going to go for example, a simulator flight like that you get as much information as possible. And in there, you will learn things like a full setup from when the aircraft is... actually, I'm going to show it again, just because I've missed it. So this is from I think that's a rejected takeoff and evacuation collection, but I have a full setup of the 737 from dark until it's ready to taxi. And of course, you can also use one of these Google glasses and look around in the cockpit and see what we're both doing throughout the collection. That's the cool stuff. That's what I was talking to Michelle about. That's the 360 videos that I started doing before it became a social app as well. Cool. Let's see. I think that was the last super chat. So let's see if we can take some normal chat as well. Oh, actually, we have a new super chat here. I'm just going to make sure that that's the one. So Michelle Massetti, at the end of your career, would you consider be a corporate pilot? Maybe. Depends what you mean by a corporate pilot. I wouldn't be one of those that flies around someone and is on constant standby and never knows when you're going to fly. But if I can get a proper roster pattern, I would love to. I would be very cool. Or start my own airline. Maybe a fully electric airline. That would be my dream, to set up something that is environmentally friendly and that helps open up a new arm of the aviation industry. It would be really cool. Okay, so let's see some normal questions here in the normal chat. Hi, Mentor. How's the cargo industry going? The cargo industry is doing great, right? Well, great. It's doing better than the passenger industry, because with this increase in the kind of e-buying as well, and the industry of internet purchases, there's a lot more cargo going than before the pandemic. So the cargo industry is actually increased, and of course a lot of the cargo that used to go on passenger airlines cannot go, because loads of the cargo before, it didn't go on dedicated cargo aircraft. It went on passenger aircraft as part of the cargo. So when the passenger airlines stopped flying and they're still not up to capacity, it means that there's a lot more cargo that needs to be freighted by the proper cargo companies. So they are doing much better. The cargo air cost has gone up quite a bit. Esposito, follow Kelsey. He flies cargo. Yeah, Kelsey is great. I should call him actually, but he's always flying. That's the thing. I tried to get Kelsey on the show for ages now, and every time that I ask him, he's like, "No, dude, I'm flying. I'm gonna go up to Anchorage, and then I'm gonna fly over to Tokyo or whatever." So he's working his red-haired butt off. So Stephen Matthew, I'm just starting out as a student pilot in an integrated ATPL program. What is the best way to move forward during this pandemic? Well, if you're just starting up, you're kind of good, because you have 18 to 24 months ahead of you. What I would tell you though, and I hope that everyone who's watching now, that you have signed up to the Airline Pilot Club. So go to theairlinepilotclub.com. There's a lot more information on there now, and we will start to open up for memberships very soon. We're still working on the last couple of assets for people who are members, but you will be able to go in there. And if you're in training right now, or if you're about to go into training, then that's definitely something that you should go through. All right. So everyone, check out theairlinepilotclub.com. Write up your details so we can send you an email when we start accepting membership, because it's going to be really, really cool. Charles Strömvall, hi Mentor, what is the worst and weirdest bird strike that you've encountered or heard about? Well, I've taken quite a lot of birds, a lot of big birds. I had an eagle hit the right-hand wing and it buckled my leading edge devices, so I had to have them changed. That was quite bad one. I had a friend of mine who hit a hedgehog. Yeah, he hit a hedgehog at 2,000 feet climbing. So that was that was something else. Apparently, he took off, and an eagle had just come and grabbed the hedgehog. Right, so the hedgehog had like the worst day ever. He's like, oh man, just been taken by this eagle, and the eagle's flying away with the hedgehog in his claws, about to eat him. And then the eagle turns around. He sees a 737 coming bowling towards him. So he releases the hedgehog. Hedgehog thinks, yay! And then straight into the windscreen of the 737. So they had to write a bird strike report with the species a hedgehog at 2,000 feet. And that's not something you'll see every day. That's the craziest thing I've heard, I think. Okay, so I have some super chat question that I missed here. Shay72. Well, actually, I'll go first to Linda. All right, let's see. Linda Marie Nielsen. Evac with person with disabilities. She cannot walk. Do I carry her or go down the slide with her on my lap? Yes, so that's a good question. That's something you have to talk to the cabin crew. It depends a little bit on what aircraft that you're flying with. You're probably going to have to fly with her as the caretaker. And then they are going to instruct you on what to do. So these are good questions to ask. I would say that most likely you would probably jump down the slide before her, and then the cabin crew will help her onto the slide, and you will help her as she comes down the slide. I would say that will be something like that, but I'm not 100% sure. So do check with the cabin crew when you travel, just to have to be more sure about that. Pachi. Shay72, I bought the all-in-one collection today. I love the videos. I love getting to see the process in action. And that's what I wanted you guys to do. I wanted you to be able to watch me, for example, do a rejected takeoff and an evacuation because of an engine fire, or a TCAS maneuver, or a wind shear, or a full setup, or a Cat 3 approach, by the way. I saw there was a question about the Cat 3 approach earlier on in the normal chat. Someone asked if I was afraid first time I did the Cat 3 in real life. No, not really, especially since I was the first officer then, and it was the captain who had to do the landing, not me. But you're very, very concentrated when you do the Cat 3 approach for the first time. You definitely are. I'm so happy, Shay, that you liked it. So guys, after this, if you haven't already, get the Mentour Aviation app, right? mentourpilot.com/apps. Download it for free. It doesn't cost you anything. Go to settings, set up your profile picture so people can see you in the chat, and then take the opportunity to get the 2 hours of instruction with the all-in-one collection. Right, it's $10 now. It's half the normal price for those 2 hours, and it's only valid for the next 3 days. June Pilot, I have an idea. How about you do a live stream where we investigate an accident and think like air crash investigators? As in what? I do like a Cluedo thing where I give you the crash scenario and I get you to investigate it or think about it. It's an interesting thing. I would love to do something like that. It would be cool, actually. Send me an email. Blue Sky Cadet, is there a cleaning regime by pilots after using equipment controls touch points in the cockpit for COVID? Right, so there is cleaning material. We have these COVID wipes that we can kind of wipe down everything with, and I think everyone does so. It's not a set routine because it's being cleaned and disinfected every day. So with crew changes, obviously you should never ever fly if you have symptoms, anything like that, but there is wipes that you can take out and you can clean everything down that you're going to be touching. So yes, there is a possibility to do that. And man, this is a longer live stream than I was aiming at. So when are we going to be able to fly raw data in VMC? At least one per month for proficiency in FR. Cheers, Captain. You will never be able to fly raw data in the real aircraft if you are in most airlines, I would say, because most airlines will not allow you to downgrade the capability of the aircraft with passengers on board. So this means if you don't know what raw data is, it's when we don't have flight directors. You fly the ILS, but without the flight director showing you. No, the flight director is the red thing there. That's the flight director. And if you take the flight directors off then that disappears, and the only thing you have to fly with is these things here. That's the glide slope indicator and the localizer. All right. So the question is when you'll be able to do that in VFR, and I think the answer is that you will get to fly raw data in simulators most of the cases, because if you start turning off the flight directors and then you are training and then something goes wrong, it's always going to be a matter of asking why did you not use the full capability of a fully functioning aircraft? And you will never be able to answer that with, well, I wanted to train it. That's why we have simulators. So most of the raw data is going to be flying from in simulators, and if you want to practice hand flying, you will be more than welcome to disconnect the autopilot according to your operations manual when it's suitable to practice. That's as much as I can say from a training captain point of view. Air Mike 888, Captain, I just want to thank you for a great channel and app. Thank you. Well, thank you, Air Mike. I hope that you are in there and that you're active in the chat as well, and you ask questions. And if you are a pilot, then you answer questions as well. That's what I need. I cannot be there myself all the time, so I need people who are good at what they do, who love what they do, to be there and answer questions from the young people who are in the app and who want to ask questions. So please help me with that. That would be greatly appreciated. Matthew Richardson, I wrote 787 software and have a different take on MCAS. Okay, cool. Feel free to share it. Send me an email. I am staying clear of the technical aspects of the MAX for a while until it's back flying safely again. It's something that I've decided to do because I don't think it's right for me to sit and speculate on the MCAS, the 737 MAX and so on, since I'm going to be flying it myself. So I'm kind of keeping away from that at the moment. And guys, that's about it, I think. Is there any more questions here in the normal chat as well? In which country are you? I'm in Spain at the moment. And Charles Strömvall, well, Mentor, I got 2 interesting bird strikes. One was working in a CRG 900. My coworker showed me a bird strike with the entire bird that was wedged in the main gear. Yeah. Over one Embraer 175. Yeah, that happens. That goes in. They can end up in the craziest places actually but the airstream forces them into the wheel well bay, for example. So Matthew, my Skype is kind of no. I'm not gonna Skype now with that. I have to, when it comes to theories about aircraft types, for example. I'm gonna have to screen that first. Juliet Hecko, I don't have a question. I just wanted to say happy early birthday and thanks for the great videos over the years. Well, Juliet Hecko, thank you very much. I would love to spend my birthday here with my family and eating cake, but in my case, on Tuesday, which is my birthday, I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to go up to the United Kingdom to do my own OPC. So I will be in a hotel room waiting for an early OPC on Wednesday, and that's how I'm going to spend my birthday. So I will be celebrating that at home next weekend instead. But thank you very much for your kind words, and thank you for your support of the channel. And guys, if you like this, well then, check out Patreon. If you want to support the channel and you also want to be part in like deciding on future content and talking about thumbnails and giving me feedback on my videos, you will get to preview all my videos that I do. Well then, go and check out Patreon. Like, I cannot thank my patrons enough. They are a huge asset to the channel, and more so lately actually. You've seen all of these like flight simulators animations that I've used in my accident series. That has all been my patrons that have done that for me. I have been working with them and they have been creating these fantastic clips that I've been able to use, which have made my channel even better. So I really love and appreciate both the financial support but also the overall support that my patrons give me. If you're a patron out there and you're watching this, a huge thank you to you, right? I cannot say that enough. I know I say it all the time on Patreon, but that's it. And you'll also get other perks, by the way, if you join. You'll get access to my Discord server, so we can swap pictures and stuff with each other. And there's much more on there. Just go on to Patreon and check it out. MH is asking, and that will be the last super chat for today. At age 47, am I too old to become a pilot? So, first of all, you have to look at the airlines that are operating in your area and in your country. There might be some airlines that actually have a maximum age for taking on first officers. That is a possibility. In most cases, that's not the case. All right. There are a lot of airlines that do not have any type of age limit, and in that case, you just have to ask yourself whether or not you think that you'll be able to recoup the investment to become a pilot. It will cost you between 85 and 100,000 euros in most cases. And if that's not an issue, then just go for it. I met like I've said that before on the channel, but I met a first officer in my airline who was a train driver until he turned 50. And then he decided it would be cool to fly an aircraft. So he trained himself to be a commercial pilot at age 50. At age 52, he had his first job. And then when I talked to him, I think it was 54 or 55, and he was going for a potential command upgrade. So it just goes to show that anything is possible, but you do need to do some research, because some flight schools will not take you in if you're too old. For example, some airlines might not take you on as a first officer if you're too old. And then you have to think about what it will mean for you in a social kind of aspect as well. Whether or not you can handle having to move to another part of the country or to another country, or take the kind of pay cut that it will probably be if you're a well-paid person at 47. You might have to jump back to a cadet salary that you would have had when you were 22, you know. So there are aspects to this that you have to take into account, but anything is possible, man. And if these are all ticks in the box for you, go for it. And on that bombshell, guys, I want to say a huge thank you to all of you who've been here. There are 800 people watching right now, which is crazy. There will be more live streams coming up. I do them on short notice if I have the feeling I want to do it, or it's probably going to be maybe twice a month. Otherwise, every other week or so is what I'm aiming for. If I become furloughed and I'm not going to have any work, then you can expect more live streams coming up and more videos coming up, because that will be all that I will be focusing on to get you quality content, the kind of content that you guys deserve. Have an absolutely fantastic day wherever you are, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.